Next up on our Meet the Candidates Forum, we have Bill Roop and Tony Martin, who are running. They're both running for District 44 for the West Virginia House of Delegates. They will each get 4 questions and have a 1-minute closing statement. So we want to begin this morning with Ben Schwartz of WVVA, and your first question should be directed to Mr. Bill Roop.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So the House of Delegates has, in this special session, introduced a resolution requesting that the legislature shall not recognize an illegitimate presidential election. Part of that, I want to quote here, says, quote, "The state of West Virginia will not recognize any election." Then it continues on with a candidate who is the subject of legal actions that preclude their effective campaigning. One could surely argue that that has happened to Donald Trump already. And I hope I said it correctly. The resolution would be to not recognize the election of Trump's opponent, if that were true. Do you support that? And would you support the state not recognizing an election if it deems that necessary?
No, and I will tell you, as a member of the House of Delegates, that was introduced, I think, yesterday, and I do not support it. It was not voted on. It was simply introduced by one of the members of the House. That was his feelings. That was his opinion, and I don't think you will see that gain much traction in the current House.
Lola Reiser from WWNR, a question for Tony O. Martin.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Lola.
I recently had a conversation with a gentleman who just moved to our state within the last couple of years from Texas. And he said one of the main reasons that they came here was, A, for work, but also because things cost less in West Virginia. But the one thing that baffled him was the personal property tax on a vehicle. And I'm wondering about the tax structure trying to lure people to come to our state, but yet we're taxing them for vehicles that they already own. I know that there is a project to reduce that personal property tax, but those types of taxes, do you think, keep people from coming to our state?
Honestly, I don't think those type of taxes keep people from coming to our state. Yes, do I like the property tax on our vehicles? No, right? And most people that I know don't like those taxes on their vehicle. But most people that I talk to, the problems that they have with either staying here or coming here is housing. You know, where's the investment in your communities? What opportunities are out there for our young people? During election season, these are things that we often talk about, but nothing is ever done. Right? And for more than a decade now, we've had a supermajority, Republicans, in both the House and the Senate. And we talk about these things, and still nothing's been done. So with a supermajority, you would think any bill we want to introduce that our communities ask us for, we should be able to make it happen. But it's almost like we're competing over who's more conservative. What I'm doing is getting out there in the streets and I'm talking to our residents, like the person that you met from Texas. I'm talking to these people and asking them, what is it about Beckley or southern West Virginia that you like? People that have moved back here, why did you move here? The most common answer that I've heard is family, right? And that's what we have here in West Virginia. We have a unique sense of family and dedication to our neighbors. That's what makes this a great place to live, and that's what I think makes people attracted to come here.
Our next question is for Mr. Roop from Cameron Gano of the Loot Press.
Coming in as a new member of the House, are there any specific challenges you faced, learning curves, anything of that sort, and how do you think this experience, albeit brief, will inform your work should you be successful in your campaign?
I think it's very important to have the experience of this special session, to meet the other members, to see the different committees. I currently am serving on the powerful Judiciary Committee. So the bills that come through there, I get to see them. I get to see the workings. I see the inner workings of the legislature and how things are changed and how I can better serve the citizens of District 44 and how I can better serve Southern West Virginia, because that's what's important to me, that we start gaining some of the economic development that we see in the northern part of the state. We need it in Southern West Virginia. And I think my experience, whether rather short, can still benefit District 44.
Keith Thompson, WJLS, a question for Tony Martin.
Tony, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. You formerly ran for mayor in Beckley. Recently, the city manager position, the form of government in the city of Beckley has changed to a city manager form of government. You're running the 44th district, which is predominantly Beckley. How is that a workable idea? What do you think of that?
I've always thought it was a workable idea, but unfortunately, I think that idea was pushed through in haste, and it should have been thought out a little bit more. But I want to go on what Mr. Roop said about experience, right? Unfortunately, this was an open seat until about July, and then Mr. Roop was appointed as your representative, not elected, right? So he does have the advantage of being down in the House and learning how things are going. But like you said, I ran for mayor in this city in 2020. I ran for the House in 22. I also ran for city council in 2016, and I ran for the House as an independent in 2012 and mayor in 2011. I started this process in 2009, and I started that process by knocking on doors, asking one simple question to residents that live right here in Beckley. Let me add that. Asking one simple question. If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing to make life better, improve life for our children, or improve life for yourself, what would it be? And the top three answers that I get: I want to feel safe on my streets. I want more opportunities for my kids to stay in school and out of trouble. And I want an opportunity for my kids and grandkids to be able to raise their family here. These are basic quality of life issues. That's what I'm focused on. That's the experience that I'm going to bring to Charleston, is the experience that I've learned from the people of District 44.
Mike Aaliyah from WOAY-TV, another question for Bill Roop.
Mr. Roop, situation at Wildwood Apartments over the weekend kind of shone a light on the current status of affordable housing in Beckley. As a legislator, what would you do to both promote access to affordable housing as well as the quality of it in the city?
I think affordable housing is very important, and I think that there are policies set up right now with the state, but we have to go out and get them. We have to be able, whether it be within the city, whether it be within the county, we have to go out. The money is there. The matching funds are there. We have to go and seek those. We have developers here in this crowd right now that's working on different housing systems within our city, and I think that's exactly what we need. We also need the infrastructure. We need so that we do not go without services. We have to have that in our area, and I think the state funds are there, but we have to go get it. And I think that's the key, is we have to be willing to put in the effort to seek the funding and to find the housing.
Rivers Upchurch, 59 News, another question for Mr. Martin.
Good morning, Mr. Martin.
Good morning, Rivers.
If you were elected, what specific policies would you support to expand access to affordable, high-quality child care to help increase workforce participation, especially among women and low-income families?
You know, this is one of the things that I've been talking about as I've been going door to door on the streets this election season. And, you know, again, it's sad that we're in a special session right now dealing with the people's business. These are things that I feel like should have been dealt with during normal sessions. But we're concentrating on things like, can we carry a gun on college campuses? You know, so getting back to the child care, most of the people that I talk to, they feel like a tax credit. What's a tax credit's not going to help me pay for child care? those daycare owners that I talk to, a child credit is not going to help them stay open. In my opinion, our daycare should be part of our early childhood education. You know, in those first developmental years of a child's life, that's the most important time for them to learn. And our education system has been on the bottom. Again, I'm talking about people issues. These are the issues that people have brought to me on the street. These are the issues that I promised those people that I would stand with them, and I begged them, stand with me, and we can start getting some of these things done in Charleston. But child care should be looked at as part of our education system so that we can begin moving our education system to the top. We ask ourselves, why are our young people leaving, right? This is part of the reason. But I got news for you. Our seniors are leaving as well because of our tax structure. So there's plenty of things that we can do to help the residents of Beckley, and that's why I'm running.
Ben Schwartz, WVVA, a final question for Mr. Roop.
Thank you. I believe this was brought up to the gubernatorial candidates. I want to bring it up again with the legislature's perspective about the state working to use the school building authority for private schools purchasing, constructing, etc. Do you support that?
I support school of choice, without a doubt. Everybody, it's not a cookie cutter fix for everyone as far as what type of school you go to. I went to a public school. My brother and sister went to a private school. You know, I think the parents should be able to choose that. As far as using the SBA funds, I think the discussion that we had just yesterday was who would own the property. Would the state have the asset? If we're putting public funds into those buildings, are they going to remain state assets? If there's private, then you're putting public money into a private building, and I'm not for that. So I think there's still a lot of things that need to be worked out. That was proposed yesterday. That did not get approved, and I think there's still a lot of discussion on how that can be, how can that be used.
A final question, Lola Reiser, WWNR, for Mr. Martin.
So, Tony, you very much focus on our local community. Let's talk about downtown Beckley. We have many buildings in that area that are vacant, and there's been discussion of maybe from previous candidates about taking downtown structures and turning them into affordable housing. Some of those buildings would not pass code, but they are historical. Your thoughts, sir?
That's a very good question. And as a person who, for 7 or 8, maybe even 9 years, I'd have to do the math real quick, owned a business in downtown Beckley, believe me when I say I recognize the struggle, okay? And as an accountant, I've talked to a lot of the building owners in downtown Beckley. So believe me when I say I recognize the struggle on their end as well, right? So what we have is a situation where it's cost so much to bring the buildings up to code that the rent is unattainable for small businesses to move in downtown. It'd be more economical to be at the plaza. So I've said for decades, what if we came up with a program, if we just look at what we invested in the fruits of labor? Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. Let's look at what we invested in the fruits of labor. If we'd have taken that money and put it into and worked with some of our local community banks to come up with a program that would offer low interest or zero interest loans to building owners to help them bring those buildings up to code. This would also help them be able to get some of the historical buildings, restore these buildings, so that way, when I, as a business owner, want to rent the building, I'm not paying an astronomical price to locate my business in a place where people aren't at. You know, that's the thing about business. We want to locate where people are. And right now, nobody's in downtown. It's several things we can change down there, but I can't answer that in a minute.
Mr. Roop, a 1-minute closing statement.
Yes. As I look out this morning and I see a lot of friends, and each of you know Basically, I grew up here, been here all my life, and as I've told Coach Kidd or some of the other coaches, once an eagle, always an eagle. I'm here. This is where I was raised. This is where I raised my family. This is where I opened and closed my business. I will be one of you all. And what I think we really have to do, I can give you all the little buzzwords, education, economic development. But you know what? You look at our past, just like one of the other candidates. Look at my past. Look what I've done. I've been throughout Beckley. I've helped the youth of Beckley. I have been part of their lives. I've even went and sat in school with different kids, not my own, but other children. We have to help the youth of Beckley. And that's number one, education. Education, I believe teachers should teach and not babysit. And I think we as a state, we're putting more and more regulations on the teachers instead of letting them do their passion. And their passion is to teach our children, your children, grandchildren. Here's what they want to do. Let's teach them. Once they then are educated, once they decide, they stay here. We have to have the economic development. We got to have the jobs. We have to have the businesses. And there's so much more that we can do that we're not doing. Thank you.
Mr. Martin, a 1-minute closing statement.
First, I want to thank everyone, the chamber, and everyone coming out to participate in this for the opportunity. Me and my opponent were a lot alike. Just like him, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I coached, even though I don't play sports myself, I'm not an athlete, but I coached years of Little League baseball and Babe Ruth baseball while my sons were playing. Like he served his community as a National Guard member, I've served our community as a volunteer firefighter. What makes us different is that I relate and I'm working with and talking to every single day the people who live and work here in District 44. I'm focused on the issues that they've told me on their front porch matters most to them. That's what makes us different. The experience that I bring to the table is being a resident of Beckley that's lived here all my life. I grew up in East Park, okay? I know what it's like when you're dealing with these high utility bills right now, because there were times when our electric was cut off when I was growing up, but we'd sit around the table with candles and tell ghost stories. There was a couple times when my kids were really little that our electricity was cut off. So when I tell you I recognize the struggle, believe me, I recognize the struggle. I know it's real, and I stand with you, not with a party, not with another candidate. I stand with the people of District 44, and I promise you this. If you stand with me, we can begin making Beckley a better place to live. That's our government's job, to improve our quality of life. Because once we begin doing that, we're going to create that environment that's going to attract those jobs. We're going to give our young people that sense of place that's going to keep them here. That's why I'm running. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
Tony Martin, Bill Roop, running for District 44, House of Delegates. Thank you all very much. Thank you. We want to remind our radio listeners that this is Meet the Candidates, presented by the Beckley-Raleigh County Chamber of Commerce. As we continue along here, next up on our program is the Secretary of State race. Each candidate will be given 2 questions and allowed a 1-minute answer. We want to welcome Chris Warner and also Thornton Cooper. Welcome. Glad to have you with us today. And we want to begin our questioning with Cameron Gano of the Lute Press, and your first question would be for Mr. Cooper.
What are some of the greatest challenges you anticipate if you're successful in your campaign, and how might you go about navigating those challenges?
I think the bit about my challenges, I mean, I've had 29 years of experience in state government before I retired. The difficulty is that we who are running for Secretary of State, we're in the executive branch. We will do we have to follow the law. Unlike the legislative candidates, we don't make the law. We follow the law. We're sworn to uphold the federal Constitution and the state Constitution. And the Secretary of State has a broad set of responsibilities, from regulating limited liability companies and corporations, being chief election officer of the state, regulating charitable organizations, notaries public. So I'm not it basically is what comes in front of us. And that is often, we will do what the legislature tells us to do, and our budget is as big or as small as the legislature makes it. I'm trying to be responsive, but it's kind of like, who knows? I'm up for whatever the responsibilities are. I think. Good.
And our next question for Chris Warner from Keith Thompson of WJLS.
Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Keith.
If you get elected, obviously they're just going to have to change one name on the door.
Yes, sir.
Besides being the chief, I thought it might catch on, but apparently it didn't. Besides being the chief elections officer in West Virginia, explain what the Secretary of State does.
In addition to being the chief elections officer, the major portion of that work and the most number of employees in that office are focused on business registration. So all new businesses register with the Secretary of State. I think that we can, I'd like to use my experience from working with USDA Rural Development as the state director, and also West Virginia Economic Development Authority, and bring that business experience plus 30 years of real estate development, and cross-train our workers in the business one-stop shop without spending one more dollar of taxpayer dollars, no more employees being hired, but by cross-training, help new businesses with financing, for example. What are the resources available to those businesses that will help a new business be successful and sustainable? So those are the two major focuses of the office, Keith.
Micah Leah, WAY-TV, a final question for Mr. Cooper, Democratic candidate for Secretary of State. Leah?
Mr. Cooper, your point about there being a variety of things you don't know yet that you would have to deal with as Secretary of State is very true. One thing that you can be pretty confident that you have to deal with is election security. We spoke about a resolution in the legislature earlier today, but how concerned are you with the continual political insertion into the process of administering elections?
Well, I'm 74, and I remember a time where there was a great deal of overlap between the bell-shaped curves of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We did not have the polarization that we do have now, and I'm concerned that it makes it very hard for us to get anything done. The first 6 letters in government are GOVERN, which is govern, and when you have you get paralysis when you have the two parties more interested in trying to keep the other side from getting credit for anything than trying to focus on what's best for the people. But as for me, I've worked state government under Democratic governors and Republican governors. I'm a partisan Democrat in campaigning, and I'm absolutely nonpartisan and bipartisan in governing, as I did the 29 years I worked for the state. It didn't matter whether you were a Democrat or Republican, from a multi-million-dollar company like Waste Management. I regulated solid waste haulers, or a mom-and-pop operation where the person only made $15,000 a year. I treat everybody the same.
Rivers Upchurch, 59 News, a final question for Mr. Warner.
Good morning, Mr. Warner.
Good morning, sir.
We already alluded to the fact that your brother is the current Secretary of State. However, what is something that maybe you think you could bring to the position that would be different than what your brother has done so far in his term?
We come from two completely different backgrounds. My business experience, as mentioned earlier, my time in economic development, whether it was with rural development, that I was entrusted by President Trump to lead West Virginia in that respect, and then now under Governor Justice at the West Virginia Economic Development Authority. But I don't believe there's been a major economic development project in the last 7 years that I haven't been involved with in West Virginia. So there's not only those businesses that we've attracted to West Virginia, but it's also helping existing businesses expand. And again, as mentioned earlier, 41 of the 50 employees in the Secretary of State's office are focused on that business registration. So I think we can continue the good work that he has done in cleaning the voter rolls. That's what allows for clean elections. But there's also work that needs to be done to make it easier to apply online and file your annual reports and being available 24/7.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cooper, a 1-minute closing statement.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you in Raleigh County. I have worked, as I said, for 29 years for the state of West Virginia before I retired, and I think I'm the most qualified person in West Virginia who has not been Secretary of State to run for it. I've been giving advice on election law from Secretaries of State all the way back to 1981, A. James Manchin, when I drafted a lawsuit involving congressional redistricting. I have been submitting redistricting proposals before the after the 80 census, the 90 census, the 2000 census, 2010, 2020. I've incorporated 2 corporations. I've been the board of directors of former State Lungs Association for 15 years, so I understand the reason you have to have the charitable corporations there. So I push for single-member districts. We now have single-member districts. I've been pushing for that. I'm a long-time activist, and I would like, if I am given the honor of being Secretary of State, to try to put the people in the Secretary of State's office under civil service. I oppose political firings, and as I said, there are many. Thank you. That cowboy reminds me of the days I was cheering for South Charleston High School in Oaksfield, so I like to hear that cowbell. Have a good day.
And Mr. Warner, a 1-minute closing statement, please.
I'd like to take the 1 minute and answer a question that was asked of my opponent at the beginning of this process. And the question was, what do you see as the most challenging aspect of this position? I would say over the next 4 years, I think that federal overreach, for example, the Biden administration laid out a directive that all federal offices were going to register voters. They were going to have federal prison guards take applications, voter registration applications, and turn those in. I think that is a real problem because the U.S. Constitution calls for the time, manner, and place of elections to be left up to the states. I want you to know that I would follow the letter of the law as laid out by the West Virginia legislature. The other concern that I have over the next 4 years is non-citizens being allowed to vote. We're seeing that across the country. We haven't seen it here, but you have activists, liberal mayors pushing for non-citizens to be able to vote. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll be here afterwards if you would like to ask additional questions, and I look forward to that.
Thank you, Chris Warner and Thornton Cooper, for being with us this morning. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all. Thank you. Next up, we move up to the auditor, and we have Mark Hunt and Mary Ann Roebuck-Clater running against each other, Mary Ann Roebuck being the Democrat, Mark Hunt the Republican. Neither of those candidates could be with us this morning, so we're going to move on to the state treasurer race. And okay, all right, for state treasurer, we have Larry Pack, the Republican, who's not with us this morning, and Gabriel Covington, the write-in candidate, and Gabriel is not with us as well. Next, Commission of Agriculture. And we want to move on. The candidate we have with us is Deborah Stiles, the Democratic candidate. Kent Leonhardt could not be with us. Welcome, Ms. Stiles. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to put my dress-up town clothes on, because obviously the muck boots have to stay at the farm.
So our first question is from Ben Schwartz of WVDA.
Thank you, and good morning. I believe your opponent, the incumbent, has served in this position for a while. Can you explain to us what you are looking to do differently, what you would offer with your campaign here?
Yes, thank you for that question. I have been to, I believe, I don't have my notebook in front of me, but I believe it's 49 counties now out of the 55, and I've been talking to a lot of farmers, rural organizations, farm organizations, rural advocacy groups, food security groups, and I'm seeing that there is a maze in terms of farmers. We need a navigator position at the Department of Agriculture, because there are so many programs out there to assist farmers, but some farmers do not have the time to navigate through the maze that is FSA, NRCS, Department, WVDA, nonprofit grant opportunities. So I wanted to initiate a navigator position, as well as try and clear away some of the regulatory red tape that farmers are contending with, as well as small ag businesses. We have a lot of potential in the state of West Virginia for agriculture. We have some challenges. We have a lot of challenges. In terms of, you all know, we've had drought, we've had flooding, and yet we can grow West Virginia's future if we put the focus on our farmers and on our young people through supportive programs like 4-H and FFA, and building on those successes. And I didn't hear a cowbell, and I'm wondering if I'm talking. Thank you. Because I was like, I love the cowbell too, growing up on a farm. Can I ask, how many people grew up on a farm here? Yay. How many people's grandparents farmed? Yeah, more hands. Parents? Yeah, see, we've got such a small percentage of farmers. It's, y'all, we all eat. We need to support our farmers, and now he's going to not let me talk, because I keep talking.
We have one more question from Lola Reiser of WWNR. Lola?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have a lot of small farmers, and recent, weather conditions and that type of thing has obviously impacted crops, but they still need to try to expand their market reach. What are the challenges, and how do you solve them right now?
I have been meeting with groups, for example, like the Rotary Club, and where I've had an opportunity to meet with business owners, including those that are in the grocery trade. And what I'd like to do is what I've seen done when I first started doing research on relocalization and regionalization of food systems in Indiana, where you go into a store, and right in the front part of the store, not buried as it is in Kroger's and Bridgeport. Sorry, Bridgeport, I don't mean to upset you, but the local food, they've got some wonderful locally produced stuff, and it's buried in like aisle 17. We need to have it front and center so people can access it more easily. And likewise, the initiatives that began under Commissioner Gus Douglas way back when, the West Virginia Grown Program, some counties do not have a single farm listed in that guide. We need to get more and more farmers, and I'm ready to expand that program even further, but make sure that it's fair to everyone. And that's what the farmers are telling me, that we need to expand the ability of their operation to get the word out. There is a lot of exciting things happening. I mean, I am doing a listening session in Braxton County today, and I can get local food for that event. But we need to continue to build markets, and I feel that with my experience I can do that.
A 1-minute closing statement, Ms. Stiles.
Well, I want to thank you again for this important event, and for everyone that's listening, watching, or here today, for your interest in preserving our democracy. I am a farmer, a multi-generational farmer, but I'm a small farmer. I basically feed myself, my partner and I, we feed ourselves and a few other people. But that is the reality of a lot of farmers in West Virginia. But my perspective is that all farms need our support, large and small. And the livestock industry, as well as vegetable and fruit production, We don't have enough markets for our apple growers, for example. We have got to step it up. And I feel that with my background as an ag and rural policy researcher, as well as part of the team of Steve Williams, Glenn Elliott, Marianne Claytor, that we can make things, help things turn around in West Virginia. When my dad moved, he was a county extension agent. When we moved from our Tyler County little tiny farm to Braxton County to briefly work, he worked there before going back to his home county of Tucker County, where I now have part of the family farm. My sister has the other half. We were privileged to come to Beckley, and I went to the exhibition coal mine. I last week met with the UMWA miners in Matewan, and apologies for going over time, but it's important to me that we support our industries like the coal miners and their industry while we support our farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah Stiles, Democratic candidate for Commissioner of Agriculture. Thank you for being with us this morning. We now want to move to the Attorney General race. Each candidate would be given 2 questions and allowed a 1-minute answer. We only have one candidate with us today. That's J.B. McCluskey, who we welcome. Welcome. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
And our first question will be from Keith Thompson of WJLS.
Good morning, Mr. McCluskey.
Morning, Keith.
You originally were going to run for governor and then decided somewhere in that process to switch and run for Attorney General. Patrick Morrisey has been the Attorney General in West Virginia for the last 8 years, been very vocal, and done a lot of good things for the state. How will you continue what he's been doing?
Well, sure. So it is a real blessing to get to ascend to an office, hopefully, that the cupboards are full. And so when you are moving from one statewide office, I'm the state auditor now, my first transition, I was taking over for the Gaynor family who'd been in that office for a very, very long time. And so I had this perspective that I wasn't going to get rid of anybody. I was going to let every single person in that office prove themselves, whether or not they were good or they were bad. And we were really, really surprised and just so overjoyed that the people in the office bought into what we were trying to do in the auditor's office. And so I have the experience of taking over an office after somebody had it for a very, very long time. I bring my own specific perspective, my own views about how we're supposed to be zealously advocating for the state of West Virginia. But when you get to follow somebody who's been so successful as Patrick Morrisey has been, it certainly makes that transition a little tiny bit easier.
Teresa Torreseva could not be with us today. She's the Democratic candidate running for the Attorney General. But we have a second question, a final question from Micah Leah from WOAY-TV. Micah?
Lately, we've been reporting on a lot of lawsuits and things brought before the Supreme Court, brought in part by West Virginia. Kind of as a follow-up to Keith's question, in what ways can West Virginia continue to lead the way on a lot of these defining legal issues of our time?
So the wonderful thing about West Virginia is that we are America's battery, and we're sitting in the heart of coal country, and there is nothing more important to bringing up the middle class than ensuring that we have low-cost electricity rates. And as everybody in West Virginia can see, that is no longer happening. And it is my personal opinion that if the federal government had come to West Virginia and said, hey, we're going to make everybody buy an electric car in 2040, but we're going to let you build 5 new coal-fired power plants and 2 new gas-fired power plants, and you're going to charge every single car in this country, that you wouldn't see a gas-powered vehicle out there in that lot. But they didn't do that. What the federal government did, and this is indicative to me of the lack of respect that most people in Washington and California and D.C. have for our lifestyle and for the way that we make money and what we do for this country, they didn't do that. They came in and they shut down our power plants, and they said, you're still going to have to buy these electric vehicles. And this is all to say that the end of this point is that we're not just fighting for West Virginia's economy, we're fighting for our values. And I'm tired of people coming in and saying, hey, you coal miners, just go ahead and learn how to code. I've never seen anybody say that to a coal miner's face, right? That's something that's real easy for people on CNN or MSNBC to say, but it's very, very hard to say to a man or a woman's face who spent their entire life working at a job in an industry where they are the best in the world and they provide a benefit to the rest of our country that is beyond comprehension. So I will continue to fight for those values and for how it is that West Virginians live.
Mr. McCluskey, a 1-minute closing statement.
So we live in a state that for the entirety of my lifetime has had a delta that is this wide between what is our potential and what is our future and what is our current way of life. There has never been a time that I've seen where we are cutting ribbons faster, we're working with businesses, where the rest of the world has opened up their eyes and said, what are they doing in West Virginia? Why is this a place where all of these people are moving? Why do people want to be there? And the answer to that question isn't just because we have beautiful mountains and incredible energy and incredible opportunities and location, you name it. The reason is because young families are sitting in gated communities in Baltimore and Dallas and D.C., and you name the major metropolitan area, and they're saying, I don't want to raise my kids here. I don't want to be in a place where I don't know my teacher's name. I don't know my neighbors. I don't know where my next soccer game is going to be. They want to live in these sort of smaller communities where their family and their children are respected and their rights and their values are valued. And West Virginia is, in my estimation, freedom's sort of last outpost here on the East Coast. And so we have to make it our absolute mission to do every single thing we can to welcome every single young family in this country that's looking for a different way of life. And that means getting rid of our dilapidated buildings. That means fixing our broken infrastructure. That means fixing our education system that still doesn't achieve the things that it needs to do. And as Attorney General, we're going to work to make sure that we have the ability to continue our economy in a way that allows these businesses to move in and us to provide that lifestyle for young mountaineer families all across this country who are looking for a better life. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mr. J.B. McCuskey, Republican candidate for West Virginia Attorney General. We want to remind our radio audience that you're listening to Meet the Candidates from the Beckley-Raleigh County Chamber of Commerce. It's WJLS Beckley and WWNR Beckley. As we continue along on our format here, we want to move to the state senator race for the 9th senatorial district. Each candidate will be given 2 questions and allowed a 1-minute answer. Only one candidate is attending, and that's Brian Helton. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, you're here. Okay, forgive us. Good, you're here. So Christy Caldwell is with us. I'm sorry. And we want to begin our questions here with Rivers Up Church. And the first question would be for Mr. Helton. Rivers?
Good morning, Mr. Helton.
Good morning.
Real simple question. How can our statewide government help fight the declining population here in West Virginia?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, first of all, we have to have an economy that works for West Virginia. And I think the business climate here continues to improve, but there's still a lot more work to do. The thing we have to remember is across the country, and particularly the states that touched us, that's who we compete for these economic opportunities. So we have to make sure that we have a tax code in place and a business climate overall that facilitates that. Additionally, as we all know, we've all lost so many of our children to out of state, so a lot go to Charlotte and other places for employment. We have to make sure that we have a business perspective that represents our area in Charleston that can bring those opportunities home so we get our fair share and our kids can stay home for good jobs. Additionally to that, we need more focus. I'm all for higher education and the funds that go there, but we need more focus on trade schools. So we need more plumbers, more electricians, more welders, and more people that can drive trucks so that when these opportunities do come here and we've helped bring economic development here and taking care of small business, we have a workforce that's ready to take advantage of that.
Thank you.
Christy Caldwell is the Democratic candidate for the 9th Senatorial District. Welcome. And my first... Caldwell, okay.
Yes.
All right. And we want to say welcome to you. And our first question for you is from Ben Schwartz of WVVA.
Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask about the special session in the legislature, specifically the tax cuts. Do you support the proposed income tax cuts currently on the table, or would you be changing that, or would you like to change that if you had that power, or would you be proposing any sort of different revenue issues right now?
Well, what I'm worried about is kind of cutting off our nose to spite our faces. I think that, of course, the people of West Virginia want lower taxes, and ideally I'd like to have lower taxes too, but we have to be very judicious about how we cut because we don't want to hurt our most vulnerable people. We want to be able to, of course, continue programs for our seniors and for our children. So I'd be very careful about what I did.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Our next question is from Lola Reiser of WWNR for Mr. Helton.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. The 9th District covers bits and pieces of several counties. And while it does cover, Beckley and Sophia, we're also looking at, I believe it's McDowell and Wyoming is involved with that.
It's actually Wyoming and a part of Fayette County, basically Fayette County from Oak Hill over to the Raleigh County.
Those redistricting lines. I tell you. Sure. When you're looking at, we've had a lot of conversation about retraining our workforce. And when we get to the more rural of counties, it seems like that message is not, it's not being received well. They're coal miners and coal miners for life, and I totally understand that. My grandfather was a coal miner. So how do we bridge that gap between the conversation of a historical lifestyle and a retraining to be able to move our state forward?
Sure. Well, as I sort of alluded in my first answer, we need to really double down where we are training across the board, because our young people right now have left so often. And a lot of the reasons for that is we don't have the economic opportunity. Look, across all of West Virginia right now, we are seeing economic increase. By some studies, we're top 25 in GDP growth. Our issue is right here in southern West Virginia, we're still on the decline. So we need a business leader to represent us in Charleston who's going to work hard and show up every day and bring these opportunities home. And then, to your point, to make sure that we're allocating dollars from our state government that's more focused on building welders, plumbers, electricians, and truck drivers. Additionally, right now we need to make sure broadband, we've been allocated $1.2 billion in our state to reach these rural areas that don't have broadband. We need to make sure that we fully implement that and we reach the rural places like in parts of Fayette County, even in parts of Raleigh and down into Wyoming County, where we've got broadband connectivity. So again, we need to compete not just globally, but also right here, the states that touch us. We have to have a better business climate and a better trained workforce if we're going to be successful.
Keith Thompson, WJLS. A final question for Ms. Cardwell.
Chris, to kind of follow up on the question that was presented to Brian with the young people in West Virginia, staying in West Virginia, what can we do?
We can do a lot of things. First of all, our young people cannot stay here because they don't have a place to live. We need to be working on our housing crisis. Also, our young families do not have child care for their young children. How can they work if they cannot have a good place to put their children? We have to make our state a place that is workable for young families. And I feel as if we haven't done that for a very long time. Our children have to leave where they can go somewhere that is conducive for their life. And so I definitely want to focus on the things that allow our youth to work. I like what Mr. Helton says about training our workforce, because I absolutely agree with him. We have a wealth of programs at our school career and technical centers, our public schools, but we can't stop there. We have to continue to help our young people get those jobs.
Mr. Helton, a 1-minute closing statement.
Okay, great. Thanks, first of all, to the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. It's such a great day. And just the participation at this time of morning shows that patriotism's alive in our area. I'm so excited to be a part of that. I'm a lifelong resident of southern West Virginia. And, growing up here, I was always taught that values matter. And so I want to work so hard to be a conservative advocate for our area, to represent the values of southern West Virginia, because that's what makes West Virginia such a great place to live. I'm looking forward to serving in the state senate to go advocate for our area and show up and fight every day again so we get our seat at the table and we get our fair share here in southern West Virginia. We've seen across the nation when the values go away, we've seen chaos sweep across our nation right now, and we all here have to do our part to keep that stuff out of West Virginia. So I'm looking forward to serve in our area and working hard to make sure that we get a better West Virginia right here, and that we're focused on not only our economic values, but also our personal values, faith, family, and freedom for Southern West Virginia. Thank you.
Ms. Cardwell, a 1-minute closing statement.
Well, I'm also a lifelong West Virginia resident. I grew up in Wyoming County. My father was a coal miner, so coal kept the lights on at my house, literally. I am a 27-year veteran teacher. I teach the youth that I'm very committed to. And my campaign slogan is real problems require real solutions, because I see the very real struggles that West Virginians have, and I'm kind of tired of the political polarization that we have and the idea that we are moving away from West Virginia values somehow, because my West Virginia values have not changed, and the letter after my name as a political candidate says nothing about the values that I have as a person. I grew up going to church every Sunday. I will go to church with my sister-in-law and my children this Sunday. I just don't understand the idea that somehow our values have to circle around a political party. We all have the same wants, the same desires. We want to see West Virginia thrive and flourish, and that is what I want to do. And I want to do it by bringing balance back to our legislature. We don't have balance. We have too much extremity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cardwell and Mr. Helton, candidates for the 9th Senatorial District here in West Virginia. Now we're going to move on to the House of Delegates race for the 41st Delegate District. Neither candidate could be with us today. That's Jordan Allen Maynor, who is the Republican, who is also the incumbent, and Anna White Horacio, the Democrat, could not be with us today. In the House of Delegates District 42, it's Brandon Steele, the Republican, Adam Gibson, the Democrat. Neither one of those candidates could be with us this morning. And in District 43, it's Christopher Toney, and he is running unopposed in that district, and he could not be with us this morning. Also in Delegate District 45, Eric Brooks is the incumbent rep there, and he's a Republican, and he also could not be with us this morning. We now want to move to the circuit judge race. It's a nonpartisan ballot of election of the circuit judge for the 14th Judicial Circuit Division 2. We want to invite these candidates up. We have Michael Frobel and Russell O. Rusty Wooten with us. Let's give them a round of applause for being with us this morning. And you'll have 90 seconds to make a statement, and we want to begin with Mr. Wooten.
Good morning. My name is Rusty Wooten. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge. I'm a lifelong resident of Raleigh County. In fact, I live in my childhood home. I'm a product of the Raleigh County education system. Went to Institute Elementary, Park Middle School, Park Junior High, then on to Woodrow Wilson. I graduated from WVU, and I also attended West Virginia University College of Law, where on the first day of orientation I met my beautiful wife, Michelle. I am the proud father of Caitlin and Robert. I was raised here in Raleigh County at First Baptist Church by my parents, Bill and Sher Wooten, my grandmother, Boots Wooten, and quite frankly, my extended family, which there's several of us. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a public servant. I understood that the best way to do that was to learn the laws and be able to use the laws to help people. So I went to law school. Immediately upon returning to Beckley, I began practicing with my Uncle John, my dad, and I was fortunate to serve in Raleigh County, because we had three of the best judges with Judge Hutchison, Judge Kirkpatrick, and Judge Burnside. I'm running to fill Judge Kirkpatrick's seat, and I'm now 2 years older than he was when he was first appointed. He's served Raleigh County for 30 years and has done a tremendous job. I believe I can provide the same kind of service to Raleigh County. I realize the great impact that a judge could have on a community watching these three individuals, and I know that's what I'm meant to do. I've been selected as a rising star for super lawyers several times. I've served on the board of directors for Raleigh County Community Action, Woodrow Wilson Football Hall of Fame, and for the last 7 years I've been served for the state of West Virginia Board of Medicine. I volunteer much of my time coaching youth sports, trying to pass on the life lessons that I was taught. A few years ago, the legislature made this a nonpartisan election. I agree with that decision. There should be no politics within the courtroom. As your judge, I promise no politics will influence my decisions. I humbly ask for your vote, and I promise to serve you with honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Thank you. Also, a 90-second statement from Mr. Frobel.
I'm Michael Frobel. I know most of you like Billy Roop, and I'm the conservative Christian choice. I've been practicing for 42 years, invested both in my volunteer work. I was a public defender back in the 80s, but practiced 42 years. Like Senator Hilton, I believe in the 3 F's, faith, family, and freedom. I believe that's important. I just went up to the judicial conference where they were training Supreme Court new judges. We have 24 new judges coming in January. And what they taught the judges, they're trying to teach the judges, are the 3 I's: integrity, impartiality, and independence. And we are in a position where now the judges, the role of the judge is you have to be able, with your life experience and your legal experience, you have to use wisdom and discretion in order to give out justice and be impartial. I believe that my experience would allow me to do that. But you also have to do it with dedication, commitment, and passion. You have to have a passion for this. Service requires sacrifice. And in order to be a judge, we were told up in Charleston, or up in Oakland Park during the judicial conference, that we have to deal with families in jeopardy, kids, juveniles that need help. Right now, we have judges currently that are taking juveniles and placing them out of the state. I believe that I am qualified. I am the only Republican running for this nonpartisan position, and I believe my experience, both in my family, private, volunteer, and I've tried over 100 jury trials, would be immense, will give me the wisdom necessary to be a good judge.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten and Mr. Frobel. Running again for the 14th Judicial Circuit Division II Judge here in Raleigh County. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to our county ticket. All of our candidates are running unopposed except for the prosecuting attorney and the surveyor. We'll recognize those unopposed candidates and then allow a write-in for prosecuting attorney to come up for questioning. For County Commission, Linda Epling, who's a Republican incumbent, is running unopposed. Also for County Commission, unexpired term would be Daniel Hall, Republican, who also is unopposed in that race as well. For Sheriff, it's Frank Critty, who is a Republican. He's running unopposed. And for Assessor, Linda Sumner, the Republican incumbent, who also is running unopposed. Now we want to move to the prosecuting attorney race, and Benjamin Hatfield, who is the incumbent, is unopposed, but we have a write-in candidate, Jordan Adkins, and we'd like to invite you up. Welcome, Mr. Adkins. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we're going to go to Micah Leath of WOAY TV4 with a question.
You launched your write-in campaign during a period of instability in the prosecuting attorney's office. I want to look past that. What do you hope to bring to the office outside of merely replacing the incumbent that you want to see it improve?
The 3 things I want to bring to office, I've been working on bringing reform, transparency, and efficiency. Reform, I want to look at all the cases we have coming in. I want to work with first-time offenders, nonviolent offenders, to work with them to get them any kind of help they need to keep them out of from being incarcerated, especially while they're awaiting trial, so we can keep the jail bill down. I will stand firm on violent crimes against children. Efficiency-wise, I just want to make sure we keep our costs down in the office, especially with the jail bill, trying to make sure everything gets done quickly as possible. keeping our caseload as low as possible and getting everything done there. As far as transparency, I feel like we've been lacking transparency a lot recently. Outside of the bigger cases, you don't really hear about what's going on in the prosecuting attorney's office. My job there would be to get some kind of report out to the citizens so they can review what we're doing in our cases, the outcomes of those cases, whether it be probation, incarceration, or if we dismiss cases.
And our final question for Mr. Adkins is from Rivers Upchurch of 59 News.
Good morning, Mr. Adkins.
Good morning.
If you were elected to this position, you would be stepping into an office that is in turmoil. Some of the employees have already stated that they intend to file suit against the current prosecuting attorney. How would you go about navigating that sort of workplace dynamic in an office that is in such turmoil right now?
I would definitely try to sit down at the first day and sit and talk to every person there about what's going on and how I can help them. As far as the actual civil lawsuits themselves, as long as they come along, if there's any information needed in those lawsuits, I'm willing to give that information up, work with everybody on that side, work with attorneys in those cases. I'm just willing to go in and clean things up, whatever I need to do that, work with everybody there.
Thank you.
Mr. Atkins, a 1-minute closing statement.
My name's Jordan Atkins. I'm running as a write-in for Raleigh County Prosecuting Attorney. I've had 4 years experience so far. I graduated during the COVID 2020 pandemic. I took the bar exam that same year and passed. I've done multiple different types of law, bankruptcy, consumer litigation, personal injury, medical malpractice, and criminal defense work. I have an array of experience that I can bring to prosecuting attorney's office, and the main thing I want to focus on is I've talked to a lot of the Raleigh County residents, and a lot of people have told me, if you weren't running as a write-in, you'd probably have a chance. And I'm just asking people not to write me off, but write me in as your prosecuting attorney. Thank you.
Jordan Adkins, who is the write-in candidate for Raleigh County Prosecuting Attorney. Thank you for being with us. Next up, the surveyor candidates, neither of which could be with us today. Those candidates are Mick Bates, the Republican candidate for surveyor, and Timothy Kosett, the Democratic candidate. Well, we're at the end of this forum of Meet the Candidates. We thank everybody for participating. We especially thank our sponsors, the cabins at Pine Haven, Appalachian Power, Access Health West Virginia, Beckley ARH Hospital, Cucumber and Company, Jan Care Ambulance and General EMS, the Raleigh County Republican Executive Committee, Sears Monument Company, and Truist Bank. We do encourage you to vote on Tuesday, November 5th, and thanks to Michelle and the staff here at the Beckley Raleigh County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much.